Hi folks, you're with Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this audio essay, I'd like to talk about claims across the anglo-sphere. This is the white countries, the rich white economies, that claims that there are massive shortfall. There are masses of job vacancies. I mean, fuckloads of job vacancies that just can't be filled. And the only way the economy can grow is by bringing in masses of illiterate third world peasants to fill these first world jobs. I mean, that's the answer. Didn't you know? What, you got something against that, you fucking Nazi? So let's have a look at this and just see how genuine it is. Now, the globalists, whatever they do, their key skill is to barrage us endlessly with lies upon lies upon lies and then more lies. And this is no different, really. So there's a claim that in the United Kingdom, as an example, there's more than 1 million job vacancies that can't be filled. They just cannot be filled. Vacancies, employers screaming for talent, top drawer talent, and we've just got to keep these illiterate African mud hut peasants coming into the UK to fill these jobs. And if we don't, then economic Armageddon is only around. The economy can't grow. Armageddon. People will be dying in the streets of starvation. So now, could you get more lies sort of packed into one sort of talking point? Probably not. So there's supposedly 1 million job vacancies. Now, this same talking point, by the way, is used in Australia and Canada, the United States, and so on. In the United States, there's more than 10 million job vacancies that can't be filled. They just aren't the people. Nobody wants the job. Yeah, sure. Now, I guess there's a few things. What are these jobs if they even exist? And they don't, by the way. Spoiler alert. How many jobs actually are there? Why are they lying so much about I mean, obviously, it's to support continued mass migration, but why are they lying so much about it? And why is the government? I mean, the government. I mean, in Australia, for example, the government that fully supports. I mean, we've got a government at the moment that couldn't be more in support of mass migration, that ticks every box on the globalist agenda. Double ticks every box on the globalist agenda. So. Now, they say that there's approximately, give or take, 400 plus job vacancies in Australia. This is the allegation. And nobody wants the job. They can't be filled. The economy can't, the standard talking points, the economy can't be filled. We'll all be desperately dirt poor in the next 5 minutes if we don't import lots of mud hut peasants to fill these jobs and so on. So, now let's have a look at that. If I go to, and anyone can do this, if you go to the job boards, say you go to the biggest job board in the country, or there's two that are, and you go to the biggest job board in the country, and there's in the entire Australia, there's 170, supposedly there's 170,000 jobs listed on this job board. So now, that's a far cry from the 440,000 that's alleged. Now, the government doesn't say that's their numbers. They just say, well, it's not us, it's the business. Business tells us. The business lot, the business groups, they say it's them, not us. And then the business groups have these, globalist flunky outfits that pretend to be very, very studious and fucking academic, and they chief economist of this think tank, and they're nothing more than a bunch of flunky stooges pushing propaganda. Say that the business, the vacancies are business needs 420,000 workers, and if they don't get these workers, then the whole economy will shut down. It'll be the end of the world, and we've got to do it. There's no choice. We have to do it. And so the government said, well, it's not us, it's them. They're saying it. And of course, it's all bullshit anyway. But it's okay. So there's 420 or 40, I think, thousand vacancies with the jobs there. But the biggest job board's only got 170,000 on it, and there's not many. If you go to the next biggest job board, it's nearly all duplications of what's on the other job board. So it's not like they're different jobs or something like that. So let's say that now, if you look through the 170,000 jobs, there's a few things that you need to understand. Not every company, but a lot of the business, particularly the bigger business and particularly government, they don't just put one posting on there. They put several posts. Sometimes the whole page of 25 job listings is made up with a single posting. So the government wants to employ some, they'll put 25 separate postings in. So that shows up in the counter as 25 jobs, when in fact it's one job advertised 25 times. So now the government does this, I'm sure, to bolster the numbers. I've noticed whenever they want to talk about there's lots of jobs out there, suddenly you'll notice that the federal and state governments and local governments all start doing duplicate adverts. And of course, given that 30% of the population work for government, and you duplicate, you run duplicate adverts or sometimes whole pages of advert, then it's very easy to juice up the numbers by that sort of sleight of hand. Now, once you take off the duplicates and the duplicate placements, then you come to the second tier, which is employment agencies that run adverts on a just in case you need someone. But this is where the employer, for example, I'll simplify this a bit. And I've come across this personally. This is where the employment agent notices you're running an advert or calls you up. Say they just call you up as a rando sort of canvas call. Are you thinking of employing anybody over the next year? Well, look, I'm thinking of employing I don't know, someone to paint the ceilings for anything. Okay, all right then, but I'm not ready yet, and there's no sign off, there's no budget for. Okay, so this is how the recruiter then responds. All right then, well, if I got a ceiling painter, a roof painter who was really good, would you be prepared to look at their CV? No obligation, or just would you be prepared? Now, hardly anyone will say no to that. Obligation free. If I got someone really good, now you can define what really good means, but anyway, so they then those recruiters will immediately go and run an advert. There's no job exists. They don't say that it's an expression of interest. They make out that it's a real job right now, and they even may gin it up and say urgent, hiring immediately, immediate start. They may even add juice up, stuff like that. This is technically illegal, but no one ever seems to pursue these people for doing this. But they'll run. So you get a whole body of adverts which are just fake adverts for jobs that don't exist. I mean, the job may exist at some point in the future, but a 50-50 chance at best. So you get that. Then you get the one where there's certain companies where they only use people, they'll only move people around internally, but they're obligated by policy to advertise the position. Now, it just turns into an exercise in voyeurism where there's no intention to hire anybody. They just want to have a look at, who's looking for a job? I remember that guy, Billy Bob, or remember Jimmy Jack? He's looking. Look at, wow, he's looking. So that's sort of, so it's treated as, there's no confidentiality or anything like that. It's used to. So anyway, so once you whittle away all that, the 170,000 jobs very, very quickly turns into about 65,000 in reality, real jobs and so on that exist. A lot of the government jobs now also, they advertise positions, even though they have an incumbent in the role. They advertise and then go through this absurd fantasy-like ritual where the incumbent, the person who's actually doing the job, has to attend an interview along with prospective candidates, but it's all a very bit of ritualistic DEI where a lot of lesbian HR operatives can pretend to be important and so on. So I mean, there's no actual practical productive purpose to it all. In fact, it's a massive waste of time. So there's that. So those jobs don't really exist either. Then everybody knows the incumbent's going to be reappointed to the role, but they go through this charade nonetheless. So when you whittle it down to the real jobs, there's nothing. Then you look at the number of jobs that pay the minimum wage or the average wage, and there's a very small percentage of those jobs that pay more than the average wage. So really, you're not looking at they're not well paid, high skilled jobs at all. So we need to come to grips with that. So now, if you look at the length of time those jobs have been on the job board, which you can do quite easily, And you have to spot. You can't check every single one. You have to just spot check them, and you find that most of them are there for between 1 and 3 weeks. Not even 2 weeks being the average. So these jobs are turning over and getting filled pretty quickly. So this idea that there's a fuckload of jobs and there's a real labour shortage and employers are screaming and just can't get people and this and that, that is an absolute lie. This is an insane and grotesque untruth that's being put upon the Western citizenry, and particularly, but not only, particularly the anglo-sphere. So let's have a little, or let's dive sort of a little bit deeper into this. Now, there's the claim that it's 440,000 vacancies, but really there's only 65,000 real vacancies. Most of those are low-paid jobs. So where are these supposed vacancies? The vacancies that are there are turning over quite quickly. So they're like 95% plus are being cleared within 3 weeks. So it's a very small percentage. So if we were to say there's a shortage of, which I don't agree with, if there's a shortage of anything, it would be between 2,000 and 3,000 workers at any one time. So that's a far cry from the 440,000. Now, looking at some of the ones that have been on there longer, they suspiciously are overrepresented by Indian and Chinese businesses. And they want to advertise a certain amount of time, so they can say, look, we can't find anybody. We have to go to India to get peasants, or from India or China. So I think they're just front some labour hire scams and so on to try and justify importing more illiterate peasants to act as slaves and be exploited. So I don't think they're real jobs either. So I'd say there's a tiny handful. If there was even 1,000, I'd be surprised in the whole of Australia at any one time, even over a 12-month period, where they are genuine vacancies, where they've difficulty in filling them. Now let's have a look at the sort of vacancies that aren't being filled, where and these are used as examples to say, see, there's a shortage of. So one of these examples. I mean, you've got to do a little bit of digging here to get to it. One of these examples was in a village or a small town that's between 5 and 6 hours drive on the highway, 5 and 6 hours drive away from the nearest large town or small city. So it's in the middle of fucking nowhere, this place. And they want to hire a chef in this small town in the middle of nowhere. They want to hire a chef. Now, the owner of the restaurant is Chinese, and it's a particular type of Chinese cuisine. So he insists he can only hire someone that speaks Chinese and is skilled in cooking that specific food from fucking China. Now, bear in mind, he's in a country town in the middle of nowhere. I mean, he could very easily do, chicken or anything, but he's pretending that he can only hire someone who's specialized in that specific form of Chinese cooking that you only find in rural China and rural areas around Asia, parts of Malaysia and so on. You can see that type of stuff there. So he's saying that they can only employ that. So he's producing a standard there that is incredibly difficult to meet wherever you would be in the world, and saying, I can't find people to do this. Therefore, mass migration has to continue, and I must be able to bring out any worker I want, in this case, a chef, to do that. Then they get put up in a one-bedroom apartment where he packs all his employees. He owns the apartment. The whole thing's a fucking scam. There's no labour shortage here, and yet these are the headline. And it takes you 2 minutes online to say. Now this guy claims he's been advertising for over a year and can't get somebody. It's terrible. The immigration policy is evil and wicked and fascist and Nazi and oppressive. Why can't he bring out people? It's only because Australia doesn't want more brown people. That's why, because Hitler. And so he's been given activist talking points by some sort of globalist activist outfit to maybe even the media outfit themselves. So trying to gin up this idea that mass migration is the only thing that can save us. But of course, you look at it's nonsense. Now he claims the time that article actually came out, and I went straight to the local newspaper where this guy claims he's advertising. There is not a single advert from him in that local newspaper in that township. nor can I find it anywhere else. So that's full of, so even that is all lies and orchestrated bullshit. So there is no shortage of labour. There's just a refusal by people to make the employment package attractive enough. Now, what we are seeing here, though, is that there's an increasing number of people that are falling below, the average wage, where every place where there's supposedly a shortage of labour, it's the low-paid industries. It's not the high-paid ones. It's the low-paid ones. So this is why they've got such an emphasis on bringing peasants out, because it's for floor sweepers and burger flippers and these sorts of things. But what's happened is we've now got multiple economies running. We've got economies in Australia and elsewhere too. We've got economies running where you've got the Indian economy, you've got the Chinese economy. So it's balkanized the economy there, where they only buy from each other, hire each other, employ each other, and they want to spend no money unless they absolutely have to. They want to spend no money outside of that. Sure, they may still spend money at, say, national grocery store chains. That still may happen. But the smallest proportion of money they can, they want to spend money in their own Chinese shops and are encouraged to do so. Also, you get the Chinese and Indians buying up entire shopping centres and then kicking all the white people out and just putting their own, just it's exclusively Chinese or exclusively Indian tenants in the shopping centres. So you get those economies, but you also have the economy, or what I call the poverty or the peasant economy, that's just getting bigger by the day in Australia and the West generally, is where takeout food shops, restaurants, all these sorts of things. They can't make money paying the legal wage that they have to pay, mandated by law. They can only do it by importing illiterate peasants from their country, and then packaging up their income with accommodation and food and so on, so that these people all fall under the tax threat. Effectively, they're being paid nothing, but they're given the opportunity to live in a first world country, which itself is huge. If you're a rural peasant from fucking Pakistan or something, then you still think it's good. It may be the first time you've ever seen a flushing toilet, running water and a light switch, so you still think it's fantastic. So bringing those people out, so that the amount of business, the total volume of business that now is it is simply non-viable. It is not a viable business. It is only viable because of slave labour. That proportion of the economy is expanding. That is the only expanding portion of the economy. This whole idea of skill shortage, labour shortage, job vacancies. Now, if I look at the claim in the UK is there's over 1 million job vacancies in the UK. Yet again, you see the same thing. If you go onto the biggest job boards in the UK, you're lucky to find even 10 or 15% of these sort of vacancies, again, which are churning over fairly quickly, many of which are very low paid jobs. So this idea again that there's all these job vacancies, it's bullshit. It's just lies made up, and yet they subject us to us, the public. They subject us to these lies every day, and have all the globalist controlled media outlets are constantly pushing this, mass vacancies, mass migration, no jobs that can't be filled, and telling the most outrageous lies and doing the most outrageous tearjerker type pieces, sort of the idea of putting this, because we can't bring the workers out, little Magumbo is going to go hungry because of that. They'll try and spin it into a story where there's hardship to minorities if mass migration isn't ginned up even further. But the whole thing's a lie. It's all bullshit. There's not a skerrick of truth in it. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.